ignore. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, July 3rd, indicate some major moments ahead in Genoa City. Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will play with fire, while Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, botches his rescue plan. Plus, Diane Abbott, Susan Walters, is cornered. Learn more about what's going down during Friday's show, below. Key takeaways. Jack plays a dangerous game with Patty. Kyle's rescue mission takes a disastrous turn. Diane's escape plan begins to unravel. Dr. Markham could catch Diane red-handed. The Abbott family's risky gamble may backfire. Jack Abbott's dangerous game. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, July 3rd, suggest that Jack will play a dangerous game with Patty Williams, Stacey Hayduke. The last fans saw Jack, he broke into Patty's phone and texted Dr. Lawrence Markham, Jerry Burns, pretending to be her. He messaged the man to meet at their regular spot as it was an emergency, which sent the therapist running out of his home, just as dinner was almost ready. Jack stayed at the Abbott mansion, while Kyle headed to Markham's house to save Diane. Will Jack stupidly tell Patty what he and Kyle are up to? Will she figure out that he was on her phone? Kyle Abbott's mess up. Speaking of Kyle, his rescue efforts will take an unexpected turn. Will he break into Markham's home and get caught by Lawrence? Even worse, could Kyle eat one of Diane's laced appetizers for Dr. Markham? She added a pinch of sleeping pills in the food, hoping he'd eat some, but he left the house to meet up with Patty instead. Diane Abbott cornered. The Young and the Restless spoilers for July 3rd note that Diane could be in real trouble. She had a foolproof plan locked in place to get the better of Dr. Markham, until Jack and Kyle threw a wrench in it. If Kyle does eat one of Diane's appetizers and collapses, Markham could return to the chaos and realize that Diane was up to no good. Will he corner her? Will he punish her by locking her up? In my opinion, this storyline sets the tone for weeks of intense drama ahead. Jack plays with fire, Kyle botches rescue, and Diane cornered. Friday's episode of The Young and the Restless promises another explosive chapter as danger closes in from every direction. Long-hidden secrets threaten to erupt, desperate rescue missions spiral out of control, and one wrong decision could permanently alter the lives of several Genoa City families. Jack Abbott has always believed that patience and intelligence could solve almost any problem. But this time, those qualities may not be enough. With Diane trapped in an increasingly dangerous situation, Jack finds himself walking directly into the lion's den. His determination to save the woman he loves pushes him toward choices that even his closest allies would consider reckless. Meanwhile, Kyle Abbott refuses to sit on the sidelines while his parents risk everything. Unfortunately, his impulsive attempt to rescue Diane may end up making the nightmare far worse. As if that weren't enough, Diane discovers she's running out of options. Cornered by enemies who seem to anticipate her every move, she realizes that survival may require sacrificing everything she's worked to rebuild. The emotional stakes have never been higher. Jack refuses to wait. Jack Abbott hasn't slept much since Diane disappeared. Every hour without answers has fueled his frustration. Police investigations have stalled, phone calls have led nowhere, and every possible clue seems to vanish before producing meaningful results. Billy urges Jack to slow down. "This isn't like you," Billy warns. "You're thinking emotionally." Jack shakes his head. "Exactly. Diane is my wife. I don't have the luxury of sitting around waiting." Billy understands Jack's desperation, but he also knows how dangerous panic can be. Victor Newman remains suspiciously quiet, King continues operating behind the scenes, and rumors swirl that multiple powerful players know far more than they're admitting. Jack begins piecing together small details everyone else overlooked. A mysterious phone call. An abandoned vehicle. A security recording missing exactly 12 minutes. Separately, none of those clues mean much. Together, they point toward a carefully organized operation. Jack becomes convinced Diane is still alive. The question is whether he'll reach her before someone else does. Diane faces her darkest hour. Elsewhere, Diane struggles to remain calm despite impossible circumstances. She's isolated, exhausted, and painfully aware that every escape attempt has failed. Whoever orchestrated her captivity anticipated nearly every possibility. Each locked door leads to another obstacle. Each window has been reinforced. Even the guards appear to work rotating schedules specifically designed to prevent predictable routines. Still, Diane refuses to surrender. She studies every movement, every conversation, every weakness. She knows survival depends on patience. Unfortunately, patience becomes harder when she overhears disturbing news. One guard casually mentions Jack's name. Another laughs. If he keeps digging, the sentence remains unfinished. It doesn't need to be. Diane immediately understands. Jack isn't just searching for her. He's placing himself directly in danger. That realization terrifies her far more than her own situation. Kyle makes a dangerous promise. Kyle refuses to believe authorities can solve this crisis. After arguing with Summer, he quietly launches his own investigation. Claire notices his increasingly reckless behavior. "You look exhausted." "I'm fine." "No, you're obsessed." Kyle admits he has discovered something. A warehouse. Several suspicious financial transactions. A vehicle registered under a fake company. Claire urges caution. Instead, Kyle decides to investigate alone. It's exactly the kind of emotional decision Jack would normally discourage. Ironically, Jack doesn't even know Kyle has disappeared. Billy begins connecting the dots. Billy Abbott has spent years making impulsive decisions. Ironically, those experiences help him recognize patterns others ignore. Something about the timeline doesn't make sense. If Diane were truly the target, why create such an elaborate operation? Why manipulate evidence? Why involve multiple fake identities? Billy reaches one disturbing conclusion. Maybe Diane isn't the primary objective. Maybe she's leverage. If that's true, Jack could be walking directly into a carefully designed trap. Billy immediately attempts calling Jack. No answer. Again. No answer. Billy's concern grows. Victor watches quietly. Victor Newman receives another confidential report. His security team has tracked unusual financial movements connected to companies previously linked with Kane's international dealings. Victor studies every page. His instincts tell him someone is orchestrating events from the shadows. Someone intelligent. Patient. Someone willing to sacrifice smaller pieces while protecting the larger strategy. Adam asks whether they should intervene. Victor remains silent. Finally he speaks. Not yet. Adam looks confused. Someone wants Jack chasing ghosts. Victor smiles slightly. And I want to know why. Diane spots an opportunity. Hours later, Diane notices something unusual. One guard receives an emergency phone call. Another leaves unexpectedly. For the first time since her captivity began, only one person remains watching her. The guard appears distracted. Checking messages. Pacing. Arguing over the phone. Diane realizes this could be her only opportunity. She quietly loosens a damaged chair leg she'd been weakening for days. Her heart pounds. Every second matters. She waits. The guard turns away. Diane moves. Jack crosses the line. Following another anonymous tip, Jack arrives at an abandoned industrial district outside Genoa City. Everything feels wrong. Too quiet. Too empty. His instincts scream that someone expects him. Yet he continues. Inside one warehouse, he notices fresh tire tracks. A recently opened loading door. Broken glass. Then he hears something. A faint metallic sound. Diane? Silence. Jack steps deeper inside. Suddenly, the massive warehouse door slams shut behind him. Darkness. Complete silence. Then slow footsteps begin echoing through the building. Jack realizes far too late. He hasn't found Diane. He's become the next target. The echo of footsteps rolled through the abandoned warehouse, each one louder than the last. Jack Abbott kept his eyes fixed on the darkness ahead, forcing himself to remain calm even as every instinct warned him that he had walked into a carefully orchestrated trap. "Who's there?" Jack demanded. Only silence answered him. Then a single overhead light flickered on, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. The dim glow revealed overturned crates, rusted machinery, and fresh tire marks leading toward a large steel door. Jack slowly moved forward, refusing to show fear. Suddenly, a distorted voice echoed through hidden speakers. "You never know when to stop, Jack." Jack immediately recognized that the voice had been electronically altered. "If this is about Diane, let her go," he shouted. A cold laugh filled the warehouse. "Everything you're doing is making things worse." Before Jack could react, another loud crash echoed behind him. Heavy metal shutters slammed over the exits, sealing him inside. Diane's escape begins. Across town, Diane realized her moment had finally arrived. The lone guard continued arguing on his phone, distracted by what sounded like an urgent problem elsewhere. Diane gripped the loosened chair leg with trembling hands. She quietly slipped behind the guard. One quick swing struck his arm, sending his phone crashing to the floor. Before he could recover, Diane shoved him into a table and sprinted toward the hallway. Her heart pounded wildly. She had no idea where she was, but standing still guaranteed failure. She raced through a maze of corridors, opening every door she could find. Most were locked. Others were empty storage rooms. Finally, she spotted a staircase leading upward. Hope returned for the first time in days. Kyle makes a terrible mistake. Meanwhile, Kyle arrived outside the warehouse he had been secretly investigating. He noticed fresh vehicle tracks and a side entrance that had been left slightly open. Instead of calling Billy or the police, Kyle entered alone. "I'll get Mom out myself," he whispered. Inside, he discovered signs that someone had been there recently. Coffee cups. Security monitors. Maps of Genoa City spread across a folding table. Then Kyle found something even more alarming. One of the monitors displayed live surveillance footage. Jack appeared on the screen. Kyle's eyes widened. "Dad." Without thinking, Kyle ran deeper into the building, unaware that hidden cameras tracked his every movement. Whoever had designed the trap had just caught another victim. Billy realizes the truth. Back at the Abbott mansion, Billy became increasingly frustrated. Jack ignored every call. Kyle's phone went straight to voicemail. Claire admitted Kyle had gone investigating on his own. Billy froze. "He what?" Claire looked terrified. "I tried to stop him." Billy immediately understood what had happened. Jack and Kyle had both walked directly into the same trap. Without wasting another second, Billy grabbed his keys. "I'm bringing them home." Victor makes his move. Victor Newman quietly received another update from his security chief. "We've confirmed movement at the warehouse." Adam looked toward his father. "So we're going in?" Victor slowly stood. "No." Adam stared in disbelief. "We wait." "Wait for what?" Victor's expression hardened. "For the person pulling the strings to reveal themselves." Adam wasn't convinced. "If we're wrong, Jack could die." Victor answered calmly. "Or we expose an enemy who's been hiding for months." Diane discovers a horrifying secret. As Diane reached the second floor, voices drifted from behind a partially open office door. She carefully stepped closer. Inside, two men studied photographs spread across a desk. Jack. Kyle. Billy. Victor. The Abbott family wasn't the only target. Every powerful family in Genoa City appeared on the board, connected by strings and handwritten notes. This operation had never been solely about kidnapping Diane. She was merely one piece of a much larger game. Before Diane could hear more, the floor creaked beneath her feet. One of the men turned instantly. "She's here." The chase began again. Jack faces the mastermind. Back inside the warehouse, another light flickered on. A lone figure stepped forward, remaining hidden behind the shadows. Jack couldn't make out the person's face. "You've caused enough damage." Jack refused to back down. "If you wanted money, you picked the wrong family." "This isn't about money." "Then what is it?" The stranger paused. "It's about revenge." Jack searched his memory. Over the years, he'd made countless enemies through business battles and family conflicts. But something about the voice felt strangely familiar. Before he could identify it, several armed guards surrounded him. Jack knew he couldn't fight them all. Still, he refused to surrender. Kyle's rescue goes horribly wrong. Kyle finally located the room where he believed Diane had been held. The door stood open. The restraints had been cut. The room was empty. "Mom?" No answer. Then he heard footsteps racing down the hallway. Thinking it was Diane, Kyle rushed toward the sound. Instead, he collided with two armed guards. A struggle erupted. Kyle managed to knock one guard down, but another struck him from behind. He crashed into the concrete floor. His vision blurred. The last thing Kyle saw before losing consciousness was a pair of black boots stopping inches from his face. A cold voice whispered, "Now we have the sun, too." Kyle's rescue mission had failed, and instead of saving Diane, he had become another hostage.